Alright, hello everyone. I'm your host, Grant Aqua Callahan, and we are here for the second official episode of Buff Broadcast. Today we'll be talking a lot about patch 7.7, but we're going to go off, as usual, a champion I enjoy, I like, and then we're going to go in the playoffs. Then the main topic of today will be patch 7.7, and we're going to explore a little bit at the end this synergetic combination we got with these new champs, because I thought it was an interesting question to raise up, and I'm going to discuss about that too. But to start things out, we're going to go on to one of my favorite champions. I love to play him in the bot lane since I've noticed Shifter started playing him. So I tried it out. He's pretty fun. I have a pretty good win rate on him, above 60 right now with like 30-ish games, and that will be Ziggs. Ziggs is typically a poke-esque mage in the mid lane, but recently when the ADC 2017 meta came out, we had this change where Ziggs started appearing in the bot lane from Shifter, and it was sort of questionable. We were like, alright, he's cheesing his way through the ladder, which is rather interesting. People have their ways where they can do that, but the main thing was, hey, it's working. And it was really interesting because we finally noticed it started being played in pro. And the first region we saw play pro, I believe, was actually Korea with SKT. Their ADC was using Ziggs. It is an interesting pick. I think it works really well. I think you play more for sieging than really damage. You poke him out and then you want to siege with his passive up. So I'm going to do a brief overview. His passive is short fuse, basic attacks, deal 20 to 160 based on level, plus your AP ratio, that'll change from like 30 to 50. And whatever you do, you can hit a tower, it does double damage compared. It's like a little Lich Bane, but it does more damage against towers, which is really good for sieging. You poke them out, they want it back, you just start wailing on the tower. But the cool nifty thing is it's reduced by cooldowns. You don't have to hit it like Galio. You had to hit your ability, or he still is, you have to hit your abilities in order to get this cooldown on your passive. But Ziggs, all you have to do is like toss out a Q, toss out an E, and you got it back up again, which is really good. So you want to sort of incorporate a little bit of cooldown reduction so you can cycle through and keep on getting these passive autos, which I think is a really good, interesting mix. Q is the main bread and butter of your laning phase. The bouncing bomb, you max it first. Bounces a few times, does a little AoE area. Pretty strong. I think it's the main thing. Cost up 70 mana once it's max rank, so it's not terrible. And it has a pretty long range. You can cast it pretty far. There's bounces and stuff. You can incorporate it. Sometimes it bounces over enemies, which is ridiculous. But it's his bread and butter. It's his strongest ability that will not siege a tower, and it pokes really hard in lane. And like once you're level 9, that pretty big spike right there, you can just keep going. Satchel Charge is something that got changed in the mid-season update, where it would attack, or not attack, it would blow up a tower if below 25% health all the way up to 37.5, which I think is pretty good. I mean, it really emphasizes this, hey, I want to siege with this character. So you get early first blood towers, which bottom lane has the weakest tower. That's why a reason towards the shift to bottom lane. But the main thing is, like, this can get you out. Also, it's like a jump. Like, imagine a blast cone just in your pocket. You toss anywhere. It blows you further away, but it also blows your enemies away pretty nice distance. Get them disrupted and such like that. I think it's very good. It's interesting. And Hex Explosive Minefield is the next ability. Imagine, well, most of you play League, so imagine Karma Q, just where it sits on the ground, you walk into it, damages these little areas of effect, slows you down, really strong to escape. One of his escape tools, slow people down along with Satchel Charge to escape. And, I mean, it stops pretty good dash-wise. Like, let's say Yasuo wants to dash at you, it slows. Callista slows. That's like a mid lane and bottom lane matchup. Or Lucian, just a lot of damage. People aren't going to chase you. It's really strong. I mean, it's not really strong, but it's really effective for keeping these people off you. And if you have Thunder Lords, unless you go Deathfire Touch, it's pretty good because it procs it instantly after you hit 3, which that's an easy proc for you. And his ultimate is Mega Inferno Bomb. Tosses this giant area of effect bomb. The center does more damage. The ratio on there shows how much damage it's going to do overall in the center. And then outside is 33%, if I'm correct. I mean, this thing will hit hard if you can manage to get people in the middle, which Tower Sieging destroys minions. It's semi-global, really strong ability. Has a really high ratio. I believe it's more than 70. Yeah, it's 73.3% AP ratio, which that's ridiculous. So sometimes you get up to 1,000 mana dependent on your build, or 1,000 mana, 1,000 AP dependent on your build, and you can go from there. You're doing 700 damage on top of a base of 400. That's over 1,000 damage just for hitting the center, and then the sides are pretty good too if you hit with that. Overall, great ability. The kit overall works. Now, why he's my interesting pick is because he can be a flex between mid and bottom lane. Mid lane, I don't think has a lot of good matchups right now on his own. I mean, there's sort of this assassin-esque thing going on, and you don't really want to build Zonias on a poke champ because you always want to be out of danger-esque area. And really moving him to bottom lane gets that weaker tower advantage. You can push with that. It can be a source of AP, unlike, I mean, you used to be able to only choose Corki and Kog'Maw for your AP ADC, but now you have Ziggs as an option. Ziggs works well against low wave clear bottom lanes, so we're talking like the Ezreals, we're talking the not Misfortune, I meant the Vayne. Misfortune was on top of my head for some reason. So anyone with low wave clear bottom lane is going to struggle against this, and you want to try and like hit your minions and the enemy at the same time so you can keep shoving, keep getting at the tower, keep getting these autos off, and keep trying to chip away at this first blood tower to get this advantage. And you have stronger spikes. Let's say you both ADC and you, so your Ziggs and the other ADC back at the same time with 900 gold. You're going to pick up this Lost Chapter compared to maybe they're going to pick up a pickaxe. This Lost Chapter is going to be more efficient in lane. You get damage, you get mana. I mean, you can keep on rotating through your spells and you're most likely going to get mana back and not run out terribly far. Or if you get an early Ocean Dragon, you're pretty much set in lane for most of the game through laning phase. You're going to have all the mana you need half the time. Or there's the people that build tier on him, which I personally don't do, but tier is a good option to keep mana, keep rotation, and it scales really well into the end game. I mean, you're playing against Ezreals and such usually when you pick this. It's a great item to pick up the scale alongside, get this AP scaling, and you can do more and more damage once it becomes later in the game. Overall, I think Ziggs is a really strong bottom lane into the right matchups. Low wave clear, Ezreal, Vayne, such like that. And mid lane, he can be flexed there. I don't think it's most optimal right now because of the assassin-esque meta, especially when you're going to start seeing LeBlancs now and Aries with this Gunblade and Lichbane combination. But overall, great champ. I suggest trying to work him into your pool a little bit. It's a nice little trick to have up your sleeve for something like that, because who knows, you may have that team with that Tryndamere jungle, Riven top Zed mid lane, and your support has to be a tank. Who's going to be your AP? This is the perfect opportunity. And I think he does the AP job a lot better than Corki, but Kog'Maw can scale better into the late game, so it's up to you there. I think more mid-game oriented is the Ziggs, but it's a big decision on for you to play. But we're also now going to move to the playoffs. This weekend, I'm going to cover only Europe and North America's LCS scene because these two were pretty big. And the first up we're going to start out with, the first game was Misfits and Splice. This was a 2-3 to Misfits, which was really interesting. Splice won the first two games and got reverse swept. I thought Splice was definitely going to edge out in this matchup. I think Splice is the better team. They looked better within the first two games. I was like, wow, Splice is going to go 3-0. It's going to be amazing seeing them against G2, but that did not happen. Overall, I think right now Misfits looks stronger. I think Kakao finally was able to pop up and get it going. He was notorious for only being good at Lee Sin and only able to carry via this Lee Sin pick that he had in his pocket. Right now, I think it's changing a little bit. He was able to hard carry on Rengar for 2 games. And then his Graves is also really good at the end. Like, Kakao looked different game 3 and on compared to 1 and 2. He just looked lost, horrible, and all this other such. But I also believe there was poor drafting by Splice. They picked Kinnan 3 games in a row for the last 3, and no one has been able to play an efficient AD Kinnan like the man himself, Reckless, which he has played a phenomenal Kinnan ADC. He pulled it out at Season 5 Worlds, if I'm correct, and he was just a monster on it. That's when ADCs were pretty weak too. They were able to build or do anything. That was the Kalista-esque meta. This Kinnan is strong. He builds like Bork, Hurricane, Frozen Mallet, then usually the game's over by then, but people build IE, Last Whisper, Guardian Angel. But it's more of an anti-engage, like, hey, I'm going to jump on you. No, I'm going to stun you, and then I'm going to auto you to death really fast, and if you try to run away, I have a Frozen Mallet. Splice messed up. I don't think Kabi was efficient enough on this Kinnan pick. I mean, there could have been better picks. I think sticking with that Ashe would have been stronger, or going to this Varus utility. I mean, Kabi was not the best Kinnan ADC. And then the 5th game, they switched it up to a top lane Kinnan, which also went AD. And he played it like it was a full AP Kinnan. There was fights where you just flash ult in, and you're like, this ult's not doing damage. What is he supposed to do now? And he just gets blown up. He doesn't have a Zonius to fall back on. Nothing like that. So you're just like, how does this Kinnan pick incorporate it and working into the Splice composition? They didn't know how to play around or with the Kinnan more of it. And it was just interesting to see Kinnan just in there. Last game, though, Kabi did pick up the performance. He went Lucian with a Braum. That's a pretty strong lane. But it's against the Lulu, which is a top-tier pick. I think they did laning phase really well compared to what most would do. He sort of had a lead going, but in the end, they could not pull it out. Wonder was just gone from the game. None of the matchups were really well. Power of Evil's LeBlanc has been insane. He is more of that Lich Bane poke mid lane-esque build, and he was allowed to get Syndra in game 3, which he's known for Syndra before Syndra became a very popular pick. But he's also using this new LeBlanc Lich Bane Hextech Gunblade build, which has been popping people. It's insane just seeing the ridiculous damage it does. It's like popping like these Bruiser-esque people just randomly, and there's very little counterplay to it if you don't have a flash up. So right now, LeBlanc's going to be abused. Power of Evil's so far the best I've seen. There's been a few more LeBlancs appeared here and there around the playoff scene, but overall, we're going to say Misfits were able to turn it around. Power of Evil was really able to turn it on, especially in these last few games with this LeBlanc pick, and carry this team to victory. I'm also going to say Hans Sama had a really good Kalista game. Kalista is my most played champion. I'm excited she's back to the meta-esque. I mean, you don't really want to first pick this thing. It's not, I wouldn't say it's the best, but it's a strong pick. You're able to play around it. If you want a strong early lane, you pick Kalista. You can pick this Thresh, which I believe he did in game 3, and they'll just smash your lane half the time and then go from there. But 90% of the time you'll outscale them, and Kalista will be obsolete because of this AD ratio down. You don't really build crit. You're more of a lifesteal champion, and there's just better things to pick and more reliable. Really what to say, I'm excited to see Misfits play Unicorns of Love. I think that series is going to be a lot closer than I initially thought. But I think Misfits still have issues that Unicorns are going to exploit. Unicorns are very bloodbath-oriented type of games. And I'm excited to see what Unicorns have up their sleeves in case they get pit in this corner. which is a possibility. I don't think Kakal's going to play as good as he did today, but it's interesting. I think it's going to be a 3-1 Unicorns of Love, but it's unsure-ish. I could see Misfits winning it, but I think Unicorns have the edge over this game. The next game this past Saturday was Phoenix 1 and Team Dignitas. This wasn't a really exciting matchup. Dignitas just lost. There wasn't anything good. Excited to see some Ivern play in here. Excited to see a little bit of mix-up. We got some Kled somewhere. It was a ban maybe. I swear I thought I saw a Kled. Oh no, it was a ban in another game. So we had a Kled, some ban, another game I'll get later on to. But Anori was in this, and so was Stunt. So the two Medios and Adrian, I believe his name is. Yeah, it's Adrian. That almost skipped my mind. The support and jungle subs were on the side. They were not played. But this series was very one-sided. Lod was doing some trash talking earlier, like, oh, Phoenix 1 isn't a blip on my radar. And Lod was barely a blip in any of the games this weekend. So it was interesting to see how Lod did not really show up this trash talking. I mean, I'm all for trash talking, but try to back it up 50% of the time, maybe, not like none of the times. But I mean, Dignitas a little bit disappointing. I predicted Phoenix 1 to win. I didn't think it would be a 3-0 stomp. I thought Dignitas would be able to win a game, but Anori had some great Ivern plays. I mean, I think Ivern's strong. Chaucer had Nilly. Nilly wasn't. I don't think Nilly's the strongest jungler. It's a usable and abusable. I think it does better than Ivern early on, but then late game you just have Ivern trigger seeds all over the place, and you're not going to kill anybody when he has like a Locket, Athene's healing on top of his shields, and Redemption. Like, Ivern's going to be a busted monkey by that time. More utility based. You're not going to kill anyone. And then, just Ryu looked phenomenal this series. I think Ryu played some of the best games of his life. He played a LeBlanc game, which was absolutely nuts in game 2. And also, his Orianna has been top-notch. We started to see some pocket picks or some interesting picks come out in the last game. Fizz Top is slowly coming over to America, which it's annoying in solo queue. I don't really like it competitively. It's a very good mid-game spiking champ. You get this Triforce, you go straight tank. So if you get really ahead, you go Triforce into Bork and then into tank. But I've only seen Triforce in the tank. I don't like it. I see why it's strong in lane. All this base damage is, and the obnoxiousness of that W passive active thing going on. Like, that's a lot of damage going on. And I saw Keen play Azir, which was horrendous. I think Orianna just smashed it in lane, and that's Ryu. Ryu was player of the series. So overall, great game by Phoenix 1, showing their dominance. I'm excited to see them play Cloud9. Hopefully, I don't want them to roll over and die. I don't want it to be like some boring series. I think Cloud9's going to edge out unless Contracts gets the nerves, which we have not seen Contracts in a playoff setting besides the Challenger scene where he qualified the now Fly Quest team into the pros. So I'm interested to see how Contracts is going to show up. I'm going to see who's going to play top lane. Impact has always had this playoff buff, the top die buff. But when Phoenix 1 plays Cloud9, I expect it. I don't want to say 3-2. I don't think it's going to be that close. I'm going to say 3-1. Cloud9's going to lose a game. They may put Ray in for some playoff experience. I'm not sure. But I think overall Cloud9's got this game in the bag. I'm pretty sure Sneaky's got something up his sleeve, ADC-wise, in case something is to happen. Jensen has one of the biggest pools for the mid lane, and he'll be able to pick apart anything Phoenix 1's going to toss at him. The only thing I'm really concerned about is Ziggs Kled. If we pick a tank matchup for it, I think Ziggs Kled is very strong. I mean, there's been Koreans who came for the Worlds, and they're like, wow, who is this Ziggs, or not Ziggs, Kled player? Like, they wanted to learn Kled before Worlds, but they didn't feel comfortable on it, so it wasn't really played by anyone of significance. Splice did play in the top lane, but it was a failure. And I know Zig has a scarier Kled than most players. I don't think there's really any noticeable picks besides the Keen Azir, which was horrendous. There's nothing. I mean, Ivern came out also, which did not draw up any bans, and he didn't want to play Ivern again in the series. So Ivern is now at least a pocket pick. You can use it in the competitive scene, and it's pretty enjoyable compared to, or it's really fun to watch, I'd say, just because you see this guy just walking around doing level 2. But now that speaking of Ivern, I'm going to go on and on about Ivern because I just love that character. He's fun. The thing is about Ivern is he is started a really conservative start within the game, if I'm correct. He did not try to invade and take a buff from the enemy side. He like smited his blue and walked over to his red and started like smited blue, marked Gromp, marked Wolves, walked over red, Raptors, walked back, got those other buffs. Like usually you're in the enemy's jungle, it's trying to take their buffs, cheese 3 buff them sometimes, or the enemy will adjust and know what's going to happen. But I didn't really see that kind of play. It wasn't aggressive. I mean, he died early on, but he was able to die only once, and he was a big help to his team. Ivern played exactly how he needed to. There was the great wet noodle fight, if I remember correctly, in one of these games. So, overall series, I enjoyed seeing Ivern. I enjoyed seeing Phoenix 1 being dominant. I was really hoping Dignitas would at least pull a game out. They have some pretty nice all-stars on their team someday in Chaucer. And Laud, I hope he improves. I hope he keeps trash talking because that's always fun to see in the scene. And X Special, I think he played well, but he could have played just a tad bit better. And I mean, I think it's going to be a time. I think they could be a deadlier force in the summer split. But right now, Phoenix 1 is surprising third, and he's going to keep on going and give a good toss up to Cloud9. So first day we had a complete sweep and we had a reverse sweep. Now second day, Sunday, we had Fnatic versus H2K Gaming, and going into this, I thought H2K is going to win. Like, I know they're notorious to choke more in the semifinals than quarterfinals, but this was the exact opposite. This was an interesting series. We saw a lot of interesting AD picks out of Reckless alone. We had, I'll go in game by game. All right, so game 1, you got your normal, they insta-pick LeBlanc. Apparently LeBlanc's that strong, or they deem it that strong, so they first pick it. So they give up like a Rengar and Zyra, which, I mean, it's not terrible. And, excuse me, we have Elise picked up also with Camille, and they're like, okay, this flex pick of, or Camille's going to go top lane. So they're waiting, see what it is, and then you find out in this last rotation for Fnatic, they pick Gragas and then they pick Twitch. Twitch was an interesting pick. Like, this is a pretty, you want to be sort of aggressive-isk. You have this poison. I mean, it's not the strongest early game, and especially against a Caitlyn. Like, whoo, you blind. No, he did not blind pick into a Caitlyn, but still, he picked into a Caitlyn Zyra. He already knew the matchup. So, interesting to note that, because that's a really hard lane for a Twitch usually to thrive in. But he had a Camille support up too, which you really don't see that combination too often. This was the first Twitch in pro play maybe this season. I thought there was one, but I was not able to find it. Correct me if I'm wrong. So this Twitch game was played all around Reckless. Reckless was able to just go nuts, go ham. He was 9-2 and 8 at the end of the game. Super strong. He only missed like 3 kill participation. Reckless put on the pants or put on the backpack and told everyone to hop in. Broxa has played a lot better than I hoped. He was a big factor for me looking at Fnatic. Like, I don't think this kid's going to be good enough for Fnatic to continue on the playoffs. But we also had a little bit of the H2K choke, which was interesting. Game 2, this was the fun one. I think the pick ban phase by Fnatic was absolutely phenomenal. H2K was banning out ADCs. They banned Kinnan from him, which he's notoriously good for, Reckless. And they banned out Callista and Twitch in the second phase. So they're like, all right, what kind of cheese are you going to pull now? You're going to have to pick some utility. And he picks Vayne. He doesn't only pick Vayne. Like, Thresh is like one of the second picks in the thing, like before the second ban phase. He picked Vayne into a Tahm Kench and Ezreal, which I can see why they picked it. It's very strong into this matchup. Ezreal is going to play very passively. It's really interesting to see Ezreal play aggressive, and if he does play aggressive, there's Tahm Kench to save him. So the whole theme of this was, you hook one, you're going to get all the way to, you're going to get Tahm Kench probably, because Tahm Kench is going to eat the Ezreal if he gets hooked at some point. But what you need to notice is that Vayne can just shred this Tahm Kench, and it just was abusable. Tahm Kench is non-existent in lane. He's not a good laner. He's there to make sure your oopsies are caught by the ADC's oopsies are caught up by this Toad. Sadly, the Kench was not, the Kench was benched actually, and it wasn't just a good character at all to use champion to use in this matchup. Not blind picking to a Vayne. Reckless has been known for his Vayne. His Vayne is very strong, and he just popped off 6-0-5. And like, I'm surprised this man didn't die, and he didn't really have that much supportive-esque characters around him. Thresh was the only one that was going to get him out of things. I would have liked to see Ivern in here, but Broxus played this Elise, which he was really strong in again. And I'm really impressed by Broxus' play. And Caps picked, since H2K picked LeBlanc first, they picked Ryze directly into it, which apparently is one of the counters for LeBlanc, and he played it very well. Fevin just hasn't looked like his form from the old Fnatic days, and I'm just sad about that. Third game was a fun one. Like, Soaz got the Shin. Shin was the first pick. Shin is a big priority in these matchups, because he just is everywhere. He has the double teleport advantage, basically. Shield, utility, strength, tank, like, it's everything. Broxus' Elise was picked away first by Jankos, and he had to play Kha'Zix, which he played a lot better Kha'Zix than I thought. 5-0 and 11. That's phenomenal by him. I thought he was only going to be at least one trick, and they're going to ban it out eventually. And Aatrox, that was not a ban. They just did not ban anyone. But also, another fun fact is Reckless's Kinnan was finally picked up. They did not ban it. They thought it had a counter to it, but sadly, Reckless still is able to go off. Looking at also, we have Caps on Aurelion Sol. We have not seen Aurelion Sol in Europe for a very long time. And he played it phenomenally. He got ganked. First Blood King came mid lane and got him. It was a little bit of an oopsie. But in the end, Caps was able to capitalize on this roaming, this powerful shover in the lane. Able to outroam this Syndra, which was really interesting. Syndra could have just popped Caps 90% of the time, but it did not happen. H2K just got 3-0'd by Fnatic. I'd say it's interesting. I thought it'd be more of a fight. Fnatic, I'm excited now to watch them play against G2. I think they're going to do phenomenal against G2. I think it'll be a lot closer series than what I hoped for. I hope they take down G2. I'm not personally a fan of G2, but I know they have a lot of strong, talented players. And I'm going to say G2's going to win it. I want Fnatic to win, but G2's going to win it 3-2. There's no way it's not going to go to 5 games, in my personal opinion, if Fnatic plays this level that they did today. It may have just been goodness against a choking team. I don't think Rex is going to get away with these ADC picks in the bottom lane. Zvin's going to punish it. And Mithy, hopefully Mithy is not on like this tilted area he is, or he was at the end of the season. But I really want Fnatic to make it the finals. I want to see G2 not make it the finals for once, and see how this is all going to play out. And the final game of the day goes to Counterlogic Gaming and FlyQuest. I just stopped watching halfway through the third game. I was like, CLG is probably going to win it. I'm done. But I turned it on to see we had FlyQuest reverse sweep them, so I got a few catch-up games to do. But right now, Game 1 was rough. Balls was on his Rumble. He used to have a big thing where he did not lose on Rumble at all. He just got smashed, and like everyone got smashed. There was only one kill for FlyQuest, and that was on high, and everyone's like, what the heck's going on? But the problem was they gave like who he is his smart pick. They gave his boy Rengar the smart pick, the Smithy denying it from Moon. Like, everything went completely wrong. Everyone looked phenomenal. Elimination just fed his ass off that game. I couldn't deal with it. Match 2, we see a Mundo, which is pretty good in the Rumble. There was a really close call where I think Rumble should have gotten first blood. That could have changed a lot of things. Alltech played the Kin ADC, which was horrendous. No one has been able to play it to reckless standards still, and now it's in NA popping up. But this Mundo just stomped this kid in lane. It was just another smashing by CLG. I mean, Fly just got trampled like there's nothing more to it. Then the third game was a really good one, because all of a sudden you see like high on Talon, and you're like, oh boy, the marbles are coming out. And then Balls actually performs a lot better on this Rumble. Moon pops off on Rengar. They managed to get Rengar for Moon. It was amazing. All Attack Elimination played a great Caitlyn and Karma, able to poke out this Stixxay Aphromoo, a stronger lane than those two. And this is where the reverse sweep comes in. Like, if they won that fourth game, well, I didn't see it until then. If they won the fourth game, I was like, if they win game 4, it's reverse sweep. CLG will be too tilted. They couldn't do anything. Game 4, we have Moon on good old Rengar again, which was a mistake. Rengar should be taken off the table. Like, literally, like, I don't see why Rengar is being played right now. Rengar is just being strong by these NA players. They're abusing it. And Balls had a really good series on Renekton, able to bully out Darshan on his Nautilus. High has been given like Orianna like 30 games in a row. Like, High has some good Orianna plays. And Alltech and Elimination played a good utility support pit to the Moon, or to the Rengar, into the Renekton overall within the whole game. So that was game 4. And in game 5, I swear I thought CLG was going to win this at some point. Really, CLG was in the lead until the very almost the Baron dance, and Darshan got really greedy on Camille. He went over red wall, thought Karma was there alone, got smashed. Then that led into like Baron play. They like do it not official ace, but they ace them, get Baron, go to Elder, win a fight, and just shove it up mid, and Fly wins. The gold lead was swung, and just it was so much right there for them to even attempt to come back after that. I mean, it was a lot faster game in my opinion than what they were used to, or it seemed a lot faster than the other games. So I was just like, wow, that was almost a stomp. Moon played an excellent Evelyn, like didn't die at all, trying to pop, trying to apply pressure. Like, who he was out of fights because he's looking around for this Evelyn coming in the back line. Like, he was just hovering the back, like, where's Evelyn? He's going to pop up on this ADC and one shot him. Like, where is he? Not die. He applied the right amount of pressure. He played phenomenally. Balls wasn't as good because he got smashed by Darshan. But in the end, FlyQuest was able to pull it out. They'll play TSM. TSM's going to stomp FlyQuest unless they can do something. Will TSM be able to win? Or not able to win, able to 3-0 them? Yes. I'm going to say they do 3-0 FlyQuest. Unless FlyQuest has got some more tricks up their sleeve. But I don't know. TSM's notorious for losing the first game. But FlyQuest also reverses sweeps. There's a history behind it. So if the Paradox, I don't know, FlyQuest is going to have to lose the first game and TSM's going to have to win it. And then you just know FlyQuest is going to win from there. But, joking aside, TSM should 3-0 them pretty easily. Now we're going to move on to the bulk of the segment, which I talked a lot about playoffs and what I think. We're going to move to the bulk, and that is patch 7.7 notes. what I think about this patch is it did some nice adjustments. I mean, fixed some jungler things, but nothing terrible. Let's go through the list. Amumu, I think this is a really interesting. He updated the passive. Like, oh no, basic attacks reduce magic damage or increase magic damage dealt to champions on the enemy. But now he has this cursed touch. Like if you auto him, use your despair or use your ultimate, you're gonna have this power. Like your magic damage and your teammates' magic damage are going to do 15% bonus true magic damage on top of the damage they already do. That's insane if you can wombo it right. I played this in solo queue with a Brand. Literally, I dove in a Mumu alone, Brand ulted, and they were popped. It was ridiculous. I've never seen something so strong within the game, and I'm excited to see what it's going to bring up. I don't think it'll make it MSI worthy. It might. This is the patch MSI is going to be on if I'm correct, but we're going to see it within the future. Like, he's popping up, he's drawing some bans. I don't think he's terribly strong, but we will see from there. Alistar, passive heals all enemies instead of singular, and the E, it's, I mean, nothing really damage more. Now minions can be affected by trample, I guess, or they at least get the indicator. I think the heal by enemies will make them a little bit stronger. It's nothing competitively viable since these range supports are still meta. You're going to have a lot of attention to the bot lane. You're going to get shoved out. You're a playmaker in the bot lane. It's just not going to do much. Bard has gotten a buff with his chimes. Really just collect chimes. 105 is the max until you just keep getting damage upon every 5 after that. You're going to have like 5 chimes. You're going to have like a maximum 9 meeps if you collect enough chimes, which is insane. I don't think it makes them too strong. You're going to have just rocket meeps. You're not going to build attack speed on him support. Hopefully. I don't know what people build on him. But overall, I'm going to say it's a nice change. You might see a little bit more play, more of a pocket pick. I was going to say Afromove's going to play him a little bit more if he got to MSI on this. I just don't see it being viable right now. Just there's other laners that do his job better, like strong Zyra. Like there's laners that are stronger. There's laners that do more utility than him. He's sort of jack of all trades, master of none. Sort of like a Thresh, but just doesn't really cut it. Camille, this is the final blow to her, I believe. Well, at least it's the final blow for a lot of things. They aren't playing on this patch, but tactical sweep doesn't heal off minions anymore, which I think should have been off the bat a thing, because you just really smacked around minions and you got your health back. Like, that makes no sense. Like, you want to be aggressive with this. You want to use it to get heals. You want to use it to make your plays. That was a big thing. Like, I wish there was just different things for her going, like the stuns, the attack speed buff, everything. She just keeps getting gutted. I think this was the main thing. I think it would have helped a lot if this was the first nerf. I think she may be a little too over gutted now, and I don't think we'll see too much play with her any longer. The ultimate also got gutted a little bit. Instead of 4 seconds at all ranks, it's 2.5, then like 3 1/4, then 4 seconds. Like, you have to get max rank to get this old 4-second chamber. I mean, it was too strong. And like, you had jungler ganking, you basically kill them if they don't dash around the ultimatum right. But in the end, I would say it's a needed nerf. I mean, level 11 is still strong. I think the level 1 is just not as strong as it used to be. Galio adjustments, except for his passive, it was a little bit of a nerf, but the Q adjustment I like. If you build AP, you're going to be rewarded by doing more damage with your Q, so you can just build some AP and not just build full tank and just get this goober damage. I like it. Strong, good buff. I'm excited to see Galio possibly play at MSI. I'm not 100% sure if he'll be played. I think he's viable, but I'm not sure. Graves, True Grit just no longer does MR, which makes him more counterable. Like, oh, you used to have this Graves first pick. We can pick more MR, and he won't be as effective. He's going to have to build this Maul most likely, or it may make Maul a must item on him. He's going to still be played. I'm going to say that regardless. He's strong in the jungle. There's nothing really that's going to take him out of there right now. Jarvan's shield. I think this will be interesting. His base shield has gotten a little bit of a nerf, like at max rank, really. Or early, he has earlier strength early on, and then just 5 less on his max rank, which isn't terrible. But now the bonus shield is what's nice. It goes percent of maximum health. So you want to build some armor on him. You're not going to do this glass can 80. You're going to go like 2% to 4% per level based per enemy around you. So you can have up to 20% extra armor if you just Dumbo dive in on them, which will be fun. It's like a Courage of Colossus on top of this. This will make him incredibly tanky, hard to kill in this first burst. I think it's a good change. We may see Jarvan pop up now at MSI, but I'm going to say it's pretty telegraphed what he's going to do. You see the pull and you can maneuver fast enough. Jinx E cooldown, nothing really fundamental. I think it's a nice, fun buff, but not going to really do anything. This, Amumu and this were the 2 changes I think were the big stellar changes. Kass has already seen some play in different leagues, Europe notably by Unicorns of Love, but there's some bug fixes and some buffs which I think will push him back to be competitive viable again. W, his Netherblade has been fixed from the bug it used to have where it just cancel randomly. I really like. You got a second cooldown. That's a big buff since it's not a per level like cooldown because you have to charge it up, which I think is really smart, the charge up system. But now it's 5 seconds. You build some cooldown reductions a little even lower. Like, this is really strong, and I think it may be abused more. And Rift Walk from that 0.2 ability power to 0.3, that's really strong. I mean, I don't think it's borderline pushing him almost over the edge. He's too strong. I mean, I think he's way stronger late game. This is going to help him get to that late game and be able to just snowball, pop off people from there. Katarina cooldowns. I mean, if you're good Katarina, I don't think it'll really affect you. It's just early on cooldowns. It'll basically, you don't max your 5th cooldown is just the same. Lux, this is a fun buff. If you kill an enemy, you get cooldown refunded up to 50%, and you already have like over 20 second cooldowns, and now he's going to be like sub 15-ish cooldown seconds. It's 15 and lower if you kill an enemy, which is insane. I think strong, fun buff for Lux. I mean, she has a lot of problems in lane. She's not going to be competitively viable with this, but I think overall it's a fun little buff, and I like the scene in solo queue. It's really strong. It's annoying, but new adjustments. He doesn't have like a flat 1,000 at his 5th rank of consume. It's like 980, but he has his passive will strengthen like his abilities by 1. So his E will do more slow, attack speed slow. We got Blood Boil, just keeps on going with the movement speed extra and attack speed, which and consume will do lower over 1,000, but there's some cutbacks on consume, especially the healing is gone up, but the damage at max rank 5 has gone down. Unless you have your passive up, then it'll be over. Interesting to calculate smites now. You want to save this Q passive for that specific reason. There's a little bit more thinking involved with Nunu instead of just spam your things, which personally I like. I played Nunu a while ago. I think he's goober, he's fun, but I mean, these are nice changes. They're gonna have to update him to make him more up to line with everyone else in the game. Rengar Q-based damage lowered, which lowered by almost 10 at every rank, and ratio per strike got lowered by 0.1 at every rank, which, I mean, it's just more guts. I mean, he's strong. Like, all assassins are strong right now, so I saw a change coming. This is pretty minor, still be played in my opinion. Rumble's E-recharge time increased. Rumble's been a strong laner. He was a strong blind pick. I mean, he's still good in mid-game team fights. Ever since this recharge system, they thought it's too powerful. So they add another second to the recharge, which, what they do, Rumble's still going to be in the same spot. There's no damage numbers. And he's pretty strong in lane regardless. Shaco's AP ratio from his Q got moved to his passive. And cooldown has been increased for the Q, which is good. Less of the Shaco I hope to see. I'm not a fan of Shaco, even if it's on my team. It's just, I don't see how it plays well into a team comp. And I wish there was just other things people would play. I understand Shaco players and like their strengths and stuff, but overall, not a fan of Shaco. Just the passive got adjusted. I want to say buffed or nerfed. Late game nerf, early game buff. Really nice. Syndra bug fixes. Whoops. Whoop-de-doo. Q ranked lowered early on. Good nerf. Talon's pretty impressive. Level 2 cheese was a big thing for Talon. It snowballed from there, so this is really strong. I think it's a good thing to do. Volibear random update. This is, I don't understand what it is. Just bounces now as 8 instead of 4. I don't think it's that strong. It's not going to make him competitively viable. It doesn't make me really want to play with solo queue either. It's just this nice little buff they're going to put into Volibear. Just this patch overall, Raptors was the only other thing I wanted to touch on. It's going to do less base damage from like, is it 16 to 1333, which is easier. And the Raptors are going to have less health. Or no, they're going to have more health actually. So, I mean, more health, less damage. I mean, that's nice. If you have AoE clear, it's still fine. It doesn't matter. Or if you're Ivern, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's going to help a few junglers live a little bit longer attacking that camp. That camp is notorious for killing people. So, and lifesteal interactions, I think this is good. Takes away from like the wards giving lifesteal, but now just attacking units with ward-like health points no longer grants lifesteal if they had normal health bar. So you got York's Wall, Malzahar Swarms, Alawi's passive, Kallista's Ghost, and Nidalee's W traps and such. I mean, nothing really else has been updated. I mean, we got a nice, where'd it go? We got a nice Lee Sin skin coming out, and a new Hextech skin, Dreadnought Darius, which is another great skin. Just no one's going to have it until they get in the Hextech chest. Alright, so patch 7.7, I want to do an overview of it. The buffs, the passive of Kassadin and Amumu are highly watch out for. These are strong buffs. You may see a lot more of them in your solo queue game. What I'm going to say is going to be things to keep on the side and notice not as much. As J4, that W buff was pretty good. The Lux ult is pretty good. And the Ali passive was good, along with the E. These are strong adjustments, in my opinion. That'll make them more viable. I think it can make them a pocket pick, if anything, in the LCS, but it's not going to really do anything for this team. Nerfs, you're going to notice Camille's probably not going to be played as much. Graves, Katarina, I mean, Katarina's sword just disappeared from the LCS. It was an early counter pick for a few things. Shaco is going to be hopefully non-existent. He probably will be existent, but I just don't want him to. That's just a Shaco thing for me. Rengar is going to be, maybe he'll start falling in priority, probably not. And Galio, I mean, is more adjustments, but that passive will make him down in the tank matchups top lane, so it'll be nice to see. Overall, keep an eye on Amumu and Kassadin. That's the big bulk of everything. And this is the end of our episode, but I'm going to pose a question because when I did the Rakan and Zaya thing yesterday, or episode, it was sort of tweaked in my mind as I was thinking, like, what if champions were starting to be made like this? Like, Zaya and Rakan have this special, like, synergy between the two. Like, it's literally built-in synergy. It's not like the Lucian Braum where like, oh, these two just work together because of double tap and all this stuff. No, these two were perfectly made for each other. like a couple would be. I mean, that's the goal behind it. Do you think this is healthy for a game like this, where you have this forced, if you're with this champion, you're going to be way stronger just because? I don't know. I think they did nicely on Rakan and Xayah with the recall. I think the recall may be adjusted if it's too good. I don't think it is. I mean, 3 seconds out of combat before you can jump in it, I think that's good enough. If it's not even good enough, they're going to reduce it to 2 or 2.5, which I could see that's the only problem with them. I think the increased range is going to be strong. It'll take some adjustment getting to, like with Xayah, not with Xayah, for his shield. I think the attack speed stuff, like, it's all very strong, and I love it so far. But what if they continue doing this? Like, all of a sudden the new Urgot has strong synergy with, I don't know, let's say a Juggernaut, because Urgot just feels like a Juggernaut and he just has synergy with another Juggernaut. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, Juggernauts are already annoying to deal with in lane. You only have to kite them to really keep them not effective, but still, it's just annoying if you mess up. This thing's going to stomp you in lane. Like, what are you supposed to do? If there are other characters, it needs to be heavily monitored. I think Xayah's and Rakan's purposeful synergy is going to be monitored heavily. I could see distance decrease in the shield jumping. I could see attack speed, or the extra attack for like Rakan and Xayah, like nerfed a little bit. And I could see just a whole bunch of things just go horribly wrong if competitive scene really picks up on these, which I'm going to say they're not enabled for MSI. That's too much. There's no way in hell that they should keep these two in MSI. But that's going to conclude it for this episode. It's a nice doozy, a nice long one. I enjoyed doing this episode. Just 7.7 is going to be interesting to see it unfold, especially at MSI. I hope to see a lot more Kassadin. Kassadin's fun to watch competitively. I think he does a lot of flashy, well, he does have a flash on his ultimate, a lot of flashier plays, and I'm excited to see how this is going to play out. Thank you for tuning in for this Buff broadcast, and I'm Grant Callahan, signing off.